How's engraving? Mother of pearl. I'm learning this. I'm very new to it. So I'm not going to give you any advice on it because I'm still learning it. It's not the right thing to do. I'm still finding my hand at it. Like a singer has to find their voice, an artisan has to find their hand, and I'm still figuring out how to do it. It's very tough. It's not easy. So I'm not going to give you advice on it because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I'm trying, and I'll show you a picture of what I did and what I did today. But, you know, here we go. Okay, so it's 5 hours later, and we got our peg head inlay in there. Now, I'm a fresh hand at engraving. This is only it's my very first peg head inlay and engraving, and it's tough. And I don't have a good enough handle on it yet to give anybody advice on it. There's plenty of people out there on the internet that think they know everything and give shitty advice. So until I have a better handle on this, I'm just not in the position to give anybody advice on it right now. So the day will come, but it's not the day. Okay, so we're back out in the shop now. I got my peg head inlay all coated up with lacquer and protected. I got my fretboard right here. I got this all baby smooth. I sanded it down to 400 grit. That's far enough. That's about as far as I go. Now, what I'm going to do on the mill, take an 1/8 inch mill through here and fit my bronze nut. That's what we're going to do. And then I'll show you guys how I cut in for the frets, for the fret wire to fit in. The way I do it's pretty slick. So here we go. Alright, hopefully this does a close-up good enough for you. I got our bearing bronze nut installed. It's not glued in yet, but I cut the back out of it. I leave just a strip about 50 thousandths wide. That's all you need to hold the strings. So they are nice. And they work good, and they don't wear out. So you're not gonna have to replace that, ever. Alright, so we're back on the mill. We're gonna cut some fret slots. So I got this squared up to the vise, so everything's square, our neck's square. And this is our friend. This is a 23 thousandths slitting saw. And instead of the luthier tools that you buy, like, what was it, 120 bucks for the one that you put in the table saw? And a table saw is never, ever supposed to do anything like that. This thing costs $8. $8, and it's made me hundreds of fretboards. So it's just the easier way to go about it. So I'm going to show you guys how nice this thing makes fret slots. And it doesn't turn super fast. Maybe I turn this arbor at a couple hundred RPM. It doesn't have to go screaming ass fast. Just cutting little fret slots. Alright, I'll show you how it looks when it's cutting. Alright, so we're going to cut some fret slots with a Bridgeport. Here we go. luthier is going to be out trying to buy up all these bridge ports. It makes your life a lot easier. Especially for custom fretboard lengths. That's it. It's simple. That's why I do it on this machine. Alright, I'm gonna go. Next time you see me, we'll be down in the basement. We'll be putting frets in. And that'll conclude the first part of the neck process. Okay, so fretting. When I fret. This is a bindingless fretboard. So, you know, I make some without bindings. I make some with bindings. And this one, no bindings. So with how I cut that fret slot, and I've seen a lot of people put in frets, and I know, I mean, this fret slot is tight. I mean, it's 23 thousandths. It's tight, and I know it's good. And I see a lot of guys that put in frets with super glue, and I did that once, and it's not worth my trouble. So I just mix up hide glue with a little bit of water to dilute it, and I'll put it in the track. And I'll use a slip of paper and squeegee the excess off. And I mean, the fret slots I make are really tight, and I mean they're tighter than a nun's coochie. So I know I'm not gonna need much glue to hold my frets. All right, they're gonna stick in there, and then they're probably pretty easy for the next guy to peel out. So just, you know, you try to do a good job and look after the guy that's got to work behind you, because some guy's going to have to replace these one day, and I don't want to try and make it too big of a cocksucker for them, so they should peel out. I mean, you got to think, they spend their whole life getting pressed on, so they're not going to just fling out on you. That's it. That's my take on fretting. Okay, and yeah, I forgot the frets I use. So when I sat down, I started deciding I was going to make instruments in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, sitting on my couch. I had a good mentor out there, Frank Moore, and I asked him, what are your favorite frets? And he said, electric guitar, wide, low. And that's what I put in all my banjos. Electric guitar, wide, low. So, and they play. They're nice, buttery smooth. That's what I like to put in my banjos. Alright, so we're going to cut our neck out, and what I'm going to do is cut just one side out as close as I can to the fretboard, and then I'm going to mark it out, and I'm going to show you guys that. We're going to have a little talk about how I do that. Alright. Okay, so we got our pot and our neck conjoined. It's a press fit when I do those, a light press fit, but I cut the one side of the neck 1/16 inch away from the fretboard, and then 1100 inches down from the fretboard roughly I scored a line, and I just did my basic shape. And I've made a lot of fretboards, and doing carving like this is actually easy for me. This is one of my strong points. I like to hand shape all my necks. I don't put them in a planer. I don't like the feel of those necks. They just feel, you know, kind of like pieces of popcorn. There's nothing really special about them. So every one of my necks I hand shape. That's important to me, at least, in the building process. And when I'm at this point, it depends, because I need to practice at this. I have to to do this, I have to keep myself in practice of doing it. So if I haven't done this in 5 months, then I find something else to shape. I'll go make a spatula, I'll go do something else. I'll make sure I brush up on what it takes to do this. So, and speed is not your friend when you're doing this, because we've already got, you know, 15 hours worth of work to get to this point, maybe longer, because this was a pain in the ass to do. So I do is my basic shaping. I got a crappy, worn out belt sander. I don't use the high horsepower belt sander over there. That is not your friend. This guy, you can stall him out easy. You know, I can pretty much stop this thing just by grabbing it. So it's good. It takes off a tiny bit of material at a time, which is what we need. We don't need to be hurrying up. This is a slow process. We got to take a step back, slow down. All right. So I'm going to cut this out with the bandsaw roughly, and then start to shape it in. And then most of my shaping is honestly done with a foam pad and just by hand sanding. I just do it slow. Okay, so we just got her cut out on the bandsaw and roughed in, and we have a neck. So, and I laid the ply laminates down like that. It's different. I'm trying something new. And we'll end up with that psychedelic pattern through our neck, and I really, I think that's going to be neat. Set that first, flatten the back out, follow my line along here. Alright, so we're starting to get our shape. We're going from a square to a round slowly. Okay, this is my little tip. Now, when I work on my stuff, a lot of my things I do is body positioning, right? So I position my body in my hand. Now, there are two sides to this. So you need to practice, if you're going to be good at this shit. This is my right hand. I have to be able to mirror this setup with my left hand. Alright? It doesn't pay to only be good with your right or left hand. This is my left hand, same setup. I have to train myself to be good with my left hand as well as my right hand. It's only going to benefit you. All right? And the world's full of one-armed motherfuckers. You got to use both your arms, both your hands, both your fingers, both your thumbs. Being proficient on one side of your body as well as the other will benefit you greatly in doing this. Okay, so we're getting our work down a little bit, okay? I kind of got this is a neck for me, so this is what I like. So I got my relief in there, and it's gonna thin out quite a bit, but this machine is just a rougher. I don't do any fine work on that machine, that would be foolish. So I just get her roughed out. She's still kind of clunky looking. We got a ways to go. And then I've got 2 more steps I do after this. And then we'll end up with a refined banjo neck. We're making something more refined here. This is not just making no ball bat, okay? You're gonna feel this in your hand, and it's gonna feel damn good. It's gonna be something good, you know? So I like to make mine, and there's a big difference when you have one that's shaped by hand than one that's machine shaped. Alright, phase 2, and this is a news phase for me, so I don't spend much time on it. But, so we got that off the sander, and it's kind of roughly in there, but it's got some lumpy, crappy stuff that if we chase ourselves on the sander, you end up doing more harm than good, and you end up taking more material than you want easily, and it's a bitch. So, kind of had to sit down on this one and think. I mean, and how did people make stuff like this back in the day when they had less shit to make shit with? So I made myself a draw shave, and I use a card scraper, and I scrape in this neck close. That's it. I just take out some lumpy crap. This thing helps me out, makes quick work of it, and that's it. So it works. I mean, I don't shape out the whole neck on the horse with the scraper, but it helps me out some, and I like it. So that's that. Saddling up on a motorcycle. It's not a great way to do things, but it's not horrid. So I can get a nice shape real quick, and I can make things flow. That's what I'm looking for. I want my necks to flow. I don't want them to look mechanical in any fashion. So this is a good way to scrape them down and get a chance to look at it while you're working it too. Better than the sander. Sander, you really can't see what you need to see, where you need to see it. And you can pull and push this tool. Doesn't really matter, it's a scraper. You can draw it, you can push it, you can pull it, do whatever you need to do. And that's how I like to shape my necks. And I always like the belly of my neck, the thinnest part, to be in here. I like to start thickening up here. That's me. So, make a lot of wood go away quick. You can get the shape you want pretty quick using the simple shave horse. So, I'm going to keep doing this until I'm happy, but that plywood's pretty wild looking, and it's not handling the best. It handles really good with sandpaper, but yeah, that's alright. That's it, shave horse. Just do my secondary shaping on the shave horse. Alright, so you guys are up here on the shaper with me, so you can see how you can get some nice linear strokes out of your workpiece and straighten everything up. So our instrument neck is shaping up nicely. So I'm on to my third phase, and that is the sanding box. So we made quite a bit of shavings. You can make a lot of wood go away quick with this old way of doing things, so it's good. Works for me. Okay, third and final. So I made myself a downdraft vacuum table out of just 2x6. Made a hollow box and used those crappy Harbor Freight floor mats. They don't mark up your fretboards. They're nice soft foam, they're forgiving, and that works, and it's cheap. Better than buying a downdraft table. So we're gonna sand this guy the rest of the way in. We got it hooked up to the big vacuum, so any little bit of dust is gonna get sucked through the table. And that's it, final shaping on the neck. Easy. Alright, this is how I do them. So I got my plywood experimental neck, cherry and ash up here. And it's on my foam vacuum table with my sander, my cheap sander from Harbor Freight with the extra thick foam pad glued to the bottom of it. It works real good, it conforms nicely to the neck, and I'm able to rip all this stuff down pretty quickly. This is my final setup. Now I'll start with 120 and I'll go all the way down to 400 grit with this neck. And that is as far as I go, but it's a lot of fun. That plywood with all those different woods in there, and it looks really cool. So I'm really proud of it. And I got my moon up there hanging out. Okay, so after several hours of sanding, and we end up with this a nice finished neck. All the way down. I leave my peg heads. The grain in there is really pretty. When we put lacquer on it, it's going to really pop. And we've got our man in the moon up there hanging out. And that is how I like to do my necks. And that is my peg head shape I really like. So it's simple and it flows.